When the Bible was constituted, it was made sure that none of the non-canonical books were being included in it. However, the Bible, on various occasions, named certain mythical creatures like the Leviathan, a serpent-like sea creature, which was much popular in Jewish and Christian folklore in olden times. Who was the Leviathan, and what connection does it have with Satan? What does the book of Job say about the Leviathan? This is what a Leviathan looks like. However, it's just one of the many interpretations by artists around the world. In the ancient depths of the vast ocean, where sunlight struggled to penetrate, the Leviathan dwelled. It was an ancient, majestic creature, adorned with shimmering scales that glistened like jewels in the depths. Its body stretched long and sinuous, coiling and twisting through the dark waters with grace and power. From head to tail, it spanned to great lengths, dwarfing even the largest ships that dared to sail above. Its scales were like a suit of armor that protected it from the pressures of the deep sea. It was a creature of mystery that only God could tame. This is just one of the ways in which the Leviathan has been described. The Leviathan, a giant mythical sea creature, has been described in various sources including Judeo-Christian lore. It's a primordial beast of the sea and is often considered one of the banes of humanity alongside Ziz and Behemoth, two other creatures created by God to be mocked by the angels. Ziz is described as a colossal bird, or a giant bird-like creature that ruled the skies. It has an enormous wingspan, said to be big enough to even block the sun. Behemoth, on the other hand, is described as a massive herbivorous animal, sometimes identified with a hippopotamus or an elephant. Leviathan is referenced in several books of the Hebrew Bible, such as the Psalms, the Book of Job, the Book of Isaiah, and the Book of Amos, as well as in the apocryphal Book of Enoch. In the Book of Job, the Leviathan is portrayed as one of God's first and mightiest creatures, ruling over the seas, while the Behemoth ruled the earth and the Ziz ruled the skies. According to Judaic lore, these three creatures were created by God at the same time and are considered siblings. In some interpretations, the Leviathan is believed to engage in a final battle with the Behemoth at the end of the world, leading to their mutual destruction and the consumption of their bodies by the chosen survivors. In another interpretation, Leviathan is said to rule the underwater kingdom of Atlantis, along with the Greek deity of the sea, Poseidon. However, this interpretation appears to be a creative addition of different mythological elements with little to no proof. There is something else you should know about the Leviathan. Chapter 9 of the Apocalypse of Abraham, a Jewish work composed in the early centuries of the Common Era, recounts Abraham's encounter with his angelic guide named Yahuwah. In this chapter, Yahuwah introduces himself to Abraham and reveals his various roles and responsibilities. One of the intriguing aspects mentioned is that Yahuwah is not only a guardian of angelic and human beings, but also has authority over the dwellers of the demonic realm, including the Leviathans. Every creature in the demonic realm came under the authority of Satan. And even though Satan and the Leviathan are different creatures, synonymous use of the name Leviathan for Satan robbed it of its character. Satan and Leviathan started to be known as one and the same. The association of the angelic figures associated with the divine throne and creatures of the underworld, such as the Leviathan, has puzzled scholars time and time again. The Book of Job is where Leviathan has been described more clearly. Job was a man of God. He was righteous in the eyes of God. He believed and feared the Lord and despised evil. He was blessed with everything by God. He had riches, livestock, children, and servants that were at his command. Everything was going fine with him until one day, Satan challenged God that Job will stop believing in him the day he stops giving Job everything that he needs. He will stop worshiping and believing in him. When God allows Satan to test Job, Satan is instructed not to physically harm him. However, Satan proceeds to cause great devastation by taking the lives of Job's children, servants, and livestock. In the face of such immense loss, Job responds with mourning, humility, and worship, acknowledging that everything he has was given by the Lord and can be taken away. Satan returns to God, suggesting that Job's faithfulness is conditional and that he will curse God if he experiences physical suffering. God permits Satan to afflict Job's body, and soon he is covered in painful boils from head to toe. Job's affliction is severe, causing great physical and emotional suffering. Despite his wife's advice to curse God and give up, Job stands steadfast and refuses to turn against God, recognizing that both good and evil can come from the hand of the Lord. 3 friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, visit Job and engage in debates about the nature of his suffering. They argue that Job must have sinned to deserve such afflictions, while Job vehemently denies any wrongdoing and questions the justice of God's actions. This intense and passionate debate forms the central part of the book of Job. Job expresses his frustration with his friends, calling them miserable comforters. He becomes increasingly bitter and expresses his anguish, feeling like a brother to dragons and witnessing the prosperity of the wicked while he suffers. Job observes that even those who have done evil seem to enjoy safety and abundance while he is left in despair. This is when God appears to them and tells him about the vast universe and how little Job knows of it. This is where God mentions the Leviathan. We can see God challenging Job by questioning his ability to capture Leviathan and make it his servant. He asks him, can he draw out Leviathan with a fishhook or press down his tongue with a cord? God challenges Job to consider the battle that would ensue if he were to attempt to capture Leviathan with harpoons or fishing spears. Leviathan is portrayed as a mighty and fearsome creature that cannot be subdued by any human. Even the mere sight of the Leviathan causes others to be laid low in fear, while the creature itself is fearless. This leads God to make a significant point. No one is bold enough to stir up Leviathan, and if Job cannot face the formidable creature, how can he dare to argue with God? This makes us think, if Leviathan was only a mythical creature, why would there be a big chapter dedicated to it? God clearly tells what the creature looked like. Since it was ensured that non-canonical books shouldn't be included in the Bible, how come this part was kept as it is? This brings us to an understanding. Leviathan existed during those times. While it's believed that God created 2 Leviathans, 1 male and 1 female, of which the female was killed by God, it's possible that the male Leviathan might have died of old age, and it was the last of its kind, and the creature went extinct. However, this is one of the many interpretations of the creature. The nature of Leviathan as described in the book of Job has been a subject of debate among scholars. The various interpretations regarding its identity are mind-boggling. Some view Leviathan as a mythical creature representing a powerful and fearsome force in the natural world. Others propose that Leviathan could be an actual earthly creature, such as a crocodile or a similar large or formidable creature. Another perspective suggests that Leviathan may represent both an earthly creature and a symbol and a spiritual force or power. Does Leviathan still exist on Earth? What about its other 2 siblings, Ziz and Behemoth? Although very little is known of these mythical creatures, one of the most popular beliefs is that following the war in heaven between God and his angels and Satan and his fallen angels, there was a dramatic shift that caused disturbances that affected the animal kingdom. Animals turned against each other, and even their former masters, Adam and Eve, due to their survival instincts triggered by the upheaval. This also has an impact on the 3 primordial beasts, Behemoth, Ziz, and Leviathan. They began to clash with each other, leading to chaos within the earth and its inhabitants. To prevent further destruction, God temporarily separated these mighty creatures, calming them down. According to prophecy, during the end times, Leviathan and its counterparts will be slain by God, and their flesh be served to the righteous. This means that these monsters will be defeated to protect God's creations, and only those who follow him will be allowed to partake in the feast. In the Talmud, a central text in Rabbinic Judaism, it is mentioned that the skin of Leviathan will be used to cover the tent where the feast occurs, and those who do not consume its flesh will be given clothing made from its skin. The remaining skin will be spread across the walls of New Jerusalem, illuminating the world with its brightness. What do you think about the origins of the Leviathan? Do you know any other stories about this mythical beast? Feel free to comment your thoughts down below.